Okay, so picking up where we left off, what I have on my right is an image of what I had shown you before, where I blocked off the sections in black so that I could kind of visualize the space in my file. And then on my left, I have my actual HTML file. And right now, all we've got is we have, section 1, section 2, and the footer. Now, what I showed you also before is that if we take that text file. And if we, go, let's do this. Let's go grab the text file. Um, if we just take this and we copy this and paste it directly into the HTML, then it doesn't actually format it. It doesn't really do anything. So one of the things that I think might be helpful for us is to go ahead and put the structure in of the tags, and then either as we're doing it or after we put the structure in, we can go and put the content in from that rich text file. So you can do this a couple different ways, but if you want to follow along with me, just follow along with what I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I want to look at the articles that I had generated or that I had blocked out. And so inside of each section, we have some articles. Inside of the header section, we have one article. So let's go ahead and put that. And that's the end of the article. And I'm just going to leave that. Let's just put article for right now, except I misspelled it. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and then for the second section, I have 3 articles. So what I want to do here is I want to copy this, and then instead of the number 2, we'll do article, article, article. All right, so that's one way of looking at it. And then down in the bottom, we don't have any articles. Okay, so this is one way we can get started. Okay, now the next thing that I want to actually show you is that this starts to look kind of confusing. So one of the other things that we can do is we can go ahead and put some comments here. So I'm going to come right up at the top and I'm going to put a comment, and I'm going to start to type begin header. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight begin header, and then if you do in Komodo Edit, you do Control-3, it will add comment marks. And so this is the way a comment in HTML looks. It starts with an open tag, and then it puts a bang mark. A bang is the same as an exclamation, but it's called bang in programming and code. So and then 2 dashes, and that's how you begin a comment. And then the end is 2 dashes and a close tag caret. And so what a comment is it's something that the browser will just skip over, so that they're just comments for us as developers and as coders and designers, but the browser won't actually parse that information, won't read it. And so what we could do is, if we wanted to make it really obvious, we could do something like that. So anything that's inside of the comment, it will not be read. So let's do something like this. So we could say begin header, and then I'm going to say begin header section. Okay. Or I should say, let's say instead of header, let's call it the banner. So let's call it banner, because I don't want you to get confused by me using the word header, because header is actually a tag. So I'm going to copy this comment, and at the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this and I'm going to say end, like that. And then I can come down here and I can put content section, and now I can copy this, and after the section tag ends, I can paste it and I can say end content section. And then the same thing is true down here, except what I'm going to do, instead of saying content section, I'm just going to say begin footer. And you could call it page footer or whatever you want to call it, because you could have footers in other places. So anyway, and then I'm going to have end footer. Okay, so these comments are going to help me visually see where the delineations are in the page. And then now the sections become a lot clearer whenever I'm looking in my code, because this can actually start to look kind of confusing as we add more and more stuff. Okay, so now if we go over here, you see that we've got our articles. Now, we haven't put any content in because if you remember, like as I go down and I keep getting a little bit further and further down the tree, the actual things that I'm adding, you know, for paragraphs and things like that, that's sort of, those are the most internal tags. So let's come back over here and now let's take a look. And the next thing that we decided was that we could put headers inside of those articles. So each article has a header, so that's easy enough. We can just go here and we can, I'm going to, actually, let's do this. And then if I do that, it tabs down. And so I can type header like this. And then I'm going to leave that like that, and then I could copy this and paste it all the way down. But one of the things I want you to realize before we keep on typing, all right, is I want you to realize that all these articles, we were consistent. All the articles have headers, and all of the headers are going to have some sort of H something or other, okay, like an H1 or an H2. Okay, so the next thing that we could do, instead of going and creating all of these, to be efficient, if I look at my example here, this first one has an H1, and then we get to the H2s if you look here. So what I'm going to do now instead is I'm going to just type, inside of my header, I'm going to type H1, and then I'll just put H1 goes here, goes here. Okay, and then what I can do is I'm going to take this whole article, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it here. Now these are going to be H2s, so I'm going to have to make some changes, but I can just clearly and simply go here and change that to an H2, H2, and H2. Okay, so now I've got this article, I can copy this, and now I can replace the next article. Now let's put some space between it. And we've got that. Okay, so now we've got an article with a header and an H2 inside of it. Perfect, right? So, and then we still haven't got anything that we're doing down here in the footer, all right? Because so far we just put a paragraph down there. So anyway, if you look at the structure so far, we've got something that is going pretty quickly and it looks really clean. And it's also like a really good outline of the document. Okay, so now the next thing, if we jump over, we can look and see how we have our H3 set up, and we can go ahead and put that structure in. So let's look at this. We've got in the article, the first section, or excuse me, the second section's first article has 2 H3s. So, and you see that they're outside of the header, they're outside of this green box area. So that means that I would come after my header tag here, and then I would go ahead and put my H3, and then let's just put H3 for right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm just going to paste it again. And I know that there's going to be some other material here, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave some space. And then the second article in that section has only one H3. Okay, and then in the third article you see I've got 2 H3s, so we'll come down and do the same thing. All right, like that. And so now we've got our H3s in there. All right, so pretty straightforward. And then and then the next thing, if you wanted to see what we've got, is we have some paragraphs. Since the paragraphs are the first things that come in, right now I'm going to come back up here to this banner section in a minute, but for right now let's just look here. Okay, so what I've got is I've got 2 paragraphs that start off, and so I could go ahead and put that structure in. So under my first H3 I have a paragraph tag, and then paragraph text. Okay, like that. Let's copy this. And then if you want, you can put some space there. If that helps you visually see the different sections better, you can do that. Okay, and then it looks like I don't have any more paragraph text until I get down to my footer area. Okay, so let's go down to the footer, and instead of where it says footer, let's just put that right there. Okay, So now we're moving along in our document, all right? And then if you want to look at the next one, we start to build lists. That's the next thing that we're doing uh, in our diagram. So right now we're still ignoring this aside. We'll come back to that. I'm mainly focusing right now just on the content area. Okay, so it looks like we've got some unordered lists. So the first unordered list is where, you know, it says these are my hobbies and other things I like to follow. Now, if you look at this, you might look at this and say, okay, well, this is starting to get confusing. You know, you could, if you wanted at this point, you could go ahead and start putting some of your content in, if that's easier for you. I'm going to go ahead and keep going with my general document outline, but if at any time you decide, you know, that you want to start copying and pasting some stuff, you can do that. You know, like you could say, all right, well, the first one is a little bit about me. You could copy this and then, you know, stick it right here where it says H2 goes here. But for right now, I'm just going to keep going with my document outline. Either way, it's fine. All right, so I've got my first unordered list. So a little bit about me, my interests, and then we've got this paragraph text here. And then I've got my unordered list, okay? So it comes after the paragraph. So I'm going to put a UL tag. That's what unordered is UL. And then if I hit return, you see it tabs in and it's ready for my list items. It knows. And then if I start to type it, oops, I think I hit my trackpad. Let's try that again. And you see it has this LI, and I can just hit return and it auto completes for me. So I've got a list. So let's say list item 1 or something like that. And I'm going to copy this. And then if I go here and I paste, I've got 3 things. So I could say list 2 and 3. And I guess I could say list item. All right, I missed that part. Okay, so let's be consistent. All right, so now I've got my first list here, and I can copy this list so I don't have to retype that whole thing. And then I can come down here after the next paragraph and I can paste this. But you'll see here that this is an ordered list. So what I need to do, all I need to do actually, is change this UL to an OL. Okay, and that's all you have to do to make it ordered. Okay, and then if you look down lower, it looks like we have another list under My Goals. All right, so let's go under the My Goals section, and that would be here. And it comes immediately under the H3. So we'll paste that unordered list, and it is unordered, so we're good. And then down at the bottom, we have another, under miscellaneous stuff, we have quote of the day, and then we have recipes for success and happiness. So under recipes and success for happiness, that's where the definition list is going to go. And so the definition list looks a little bit different. So it's under this last H3. And so if I come down here, the way that you write a definition list is you say DL for definition list, and then you see it automatically does the completion. And then you want to do, first you have a definition term, so that's DT, right? And that's where your term 1 would go. And if you want, here, let's just keep it simple. Term 1. And then we're going to go ahead here and put our definition data, and then data 1. And it knows we don't nest it. It's interesting with a definition list, you don't nest it. The term is separate from the data, okay? You don't nest the data inside the term, which seems sort of counterintuitive, but it's the way it is. And then you would say term 2, like that, and then DD, like that, and then data 2. And if it's easier for you to understand visually, you could, even though technically it's not nested, you could tab in the data so that you can know that the data goes with that term, okay? All right, so let's save this and let's just really quickly see what we've got so far. If I hit refresh, and now we actually have something that's starting to look like a page, right? Okay, so far so good. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to complete the outline of the document and fill in content.